Ottawa. Good morning, Dr. Ray.
Good morning.
Okay, I sort of threw a lot of numbers out there, but the big one for me, and I want your reaction to it, another record here in the province, 4,812. What is this? Read through all these numbers and tell me what's happening. What does this say to you?
It says that, once again, we are in the thick of that third wave and we're nowhere near stopping yet. So we haven't reached that peak yet. If all goes well, maybe we'll peak sometime early next month. But, if all does not go well, this can continue to skyrocket as the modeling suggests. I know modeling is a dirty word to a lot of people, but it works. And the reason that the models weren't hit before to a large extent was that the public health measures were put into place to prevent that from happening. This time around, we need to do the same thing. We need to have public health measures put into place to prevent the worst case scenario that we're going to hear about in a couple of days.
Stay-at-home order, of course, is in effect. We will not necessarily have seen the effects of that. But that being said, the cabinet saying more has to be done based on the advice they're getting from those in the medical field that are their close advisors. Stay-at-home is not enough, in your opinion. What more? Do we need more?
Yeah, we need more. There are things we can still do. We could close all non-essential businesses. And of course, follow that up with economic supports for people who are affected. Absolutely. We can't have economic suffering as well. Probably limit or even ban non-essential retail that is in person. Sure, delivery and curbside pickup and online is fine, but prevent people from going inside. We need to really restrict domestic travel unless it is absolutely necessary. We can't be moving infection from hot zones to non-hot zones. That way we can target our assets in the places we need them to target and not having to spread them around too much. We probably need to use rapid testing with more frequency and imagination to keep those things that are open, to keep them more open. We need paid sick leave. I'm sorry, we really do, for those essential workers to prevent them from taking it to the work, to allow those places to stay open. We need symptom checks. We probably need to redistribute the vaccine capacity to those places where it has the most immediate bang for the buck, and then think about it when the crisis is over to redistribute. Probably increasing fines, the policing powers to discourage those indoor gatherings that are untoward. So there are things we can still do. And of course, schools. Those schools that are still open probably should not be at this point. I think all the stops need to be pulled. And the harder and the faster we do this, the less long we have to do it for. So let's not dither. Let's just get it done and be done with it.
We're told stay at home. Staying at home means, I don't know, sitting in the backyard with your neighbors having a beer. Oh, but you're far apart and you're wearing masks. Is it time to also ban that?
Yeah, it might be time to say no gatherings of any kind with people you don't live with unless they are literally a few meters away outside. Now, stay-at-home orders don't mean you're locked inside. You can go outside. I think we got to change the verbiage around this as well.
Yeah.
This isn't a lockdown. This is a just stay away from people order. Go have long walks, walk your dog, go for a run, even play distance sports if you want. But just avoid contact with people that you are not living with at the moment. With, of course, some exceptions, for those who live alone and who need social contact, absolutely. And we have to just accelerate vaccine delivery. That means getting more vaccines and having people accept them, as you did recently. So this is all about buying time for vaccination. What's different this time around than previous lockdowns, if you want to call it, is that now there is an exit strategy. There is an expiration date. Not 28 days, probably 2 or 2.5 months or so if we do this right, after which vaccines will kick in and the ramp to normal begins, and the summer looks great and will continue to look great. So that's in our future if we do everything right. In the past, I couldn't give that guarantee, but it looks like that is the likelihood if we do everything right.
Canadian Medical Association put out a release this morning calling on urgent measures, just backing up what the cabinet's doing, but they go so far as to say, take vaccine away from areas that are not hotspots and basically take the water and throw it at the flames in, Toronto, Peel, York, Ottawa, maybe even in there. Is that a good idea? Take from one side and put them where they need them?
I think it's time for that, yeah. The strategy of doing it by age made sense to me when there wasn't a brewing crisis. Now we have an explosive crisis. So the forest is on fire, and you have many strategies here. You can pour water where you are closest. You can pour water on the trees that have yet to burn, that will soon burn, or you can pour water on the trees that are actually on fire. And the the intensity of the forest fire determines what strategy you take. We're at the point now where the latter strategy makes the most sense. Take the water and pour it where the fire is burning the brightest. And when that is done, then we can go back and water the rest of the trees. So we use our limited resources to the greatest capacity until we get more resources. Of course, if we can get more vaccines, that solves a lot of problems. And hopefully our leaders are working behind the scenes to get as many as we can. That also means that citizens have to do our part and accept the vaccines when they arrive. So no dilly-dallying, no waiting for the better shot. If you are eligible for a vaccine, get it right away.
We, in the last hour, have received a release from OC Transpo. A 10th bus driver in the last week now, this is number 10 in the last hour, confirmed COVID positive. Essential worker, to say the least. Although the buses are empty, which is scary because they're getting it somehow and then potentially spreading it to others. What does that tell you? That suddenly this was not a hot spot, the bus drivers, now it is. 10 in a week.
Yeah, it tells us many things. It tells us that the new variants are insidious, and so our mitigation tools were insufficient in the past, and we cannot allow improper usage of masks or even some screw-ups in terms of who you're socializing with. It tells us that our essential workers need better protection. And it tells us we need to use things like a rapid test to make sure that these essential workplaces are better surveilled.
Yeah, that's the issue here. On a scale of 1 to 10, and I don't know how many, I've lost count how many times we've talked. And we've gone through some tough times together, Doc, as people have been listening to us. Where does this rate in the series of concerns?
Oh, boy. I don't want to be alarmist, but this is probably the worst. Other than where we were at this point exactly last year, when we hadn't seen this kind of stress on our system before. It was a brand new threat. Now we know what we're dealing with, and we can soberly say this is the existential crisis to our healthcare system. And to a lot of people listening, that's not a big deal. So our healthcare system collapses, big deal. That affects all of us. That means that if you have a stomach ache or get in a car accident or have a heart palpitation, have to go to the ER, your chances of dying just increased because the capacity of the system to render you care has been diminished. And every day this goes on, your chances of dying of non-COVID related things increases. So we should all care about this. So this is an existential threat in many ways. And so I would say this is at the extreme end of the spectrum you cited. I don't want to say it's a 10 because I want to give us headspace before we have this conversation in a couple of weeks. It may be worse.
That's bad, but okay, I hear you.
It's probably a 9.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's 9 bordering on 10.
Yeah.
Just only so you can allow a 10 if it gets worse. Let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope it goes in the other direction.
Absolutely.
Dr. Deonandan, thanks for that reality check. I always appreciate your insights.
Thank you very much.